And I'd also like to thank our members of the audience for those wonderful questions that kept coming so that we could get more insights from Praveena ma'am. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to quickly switch the gears and move forward to our next session. And this is where we're going to understand the role of open networks in creating a secured and democratized digital commerce. We'd like to invite both of our speakers on the stage to indulge in a fireside chat again. And this time we have with us Suresh Sethi, Managing Director and CEO, Protean eGov Technologies, along with Koshy, CEO, Open Network for Digital Commerce, ONDC. Thank you very much for joining us. And with that, over to you, sir.
So good afternoon, everyone. I think it's a tough session right after lunch, but with Koshy here, I'm sure we'll create enough excitement and traction in this particular session. So we are going to talk about something which we've been hearing people call it as the UPI moment for e-commerce. So clearly taking over from where Praveena left it and what NPCI has done in the space of payments. We'll talk in the space of e-commerce, and who better than Koshy to talk about it with us, the man at the center of action. So Koshy, I think, let me straight away dive into it. India Stack is today a global reference case, and we talk about the fact that creating an open digital ecosystem built on national identity has created various models for us. And there are clear studies which talk about the fact that India achieved inclusion targets in 7 years, what would have otherwise taken 46 years for us to do. Now that has led to the regulator and government look at various other areas, be it in the sector of health, education, and now e-commerce, to look at open digital ecosystems and see how they can be leveraged to create wider inclusivity, decentralized frameworks. So I would like to hear at the outset what went behind the concept of ONDC and what were the building blocks which brought it to where it is today.
Thank you, Suresh. It's really exciting to be here. You very correctly identified the journey that as a country we have taken in the last 10 to 15 years' time, and which sort of built up its momentum in the last 7 to 8 years. You know, we provided an identity which enabled a large participation, and that enabled them to participate in very many government services as well as financial services. And then, as we just heard, and we were all discussing about UPI happened, which suddenly expanded the realm of financial participation. Now that gave us the confidence and the idea of an open digital foundation on which we can build enabling infrastructure for solving population scale problems. You know, when it comes to ONDC, it is even one more step forward. If you remember, Suresh, when we looked at ID and even UPI and so on and so forth, while it has proven to be the world's leading solution, but at the time when it started, it was seen as solving a developing country problem. So that, digital financial participation is less, digital identity, there's no identity and so on and so forth. When it comes to ONDC, it's even one step more challenging because this is a global problem. Global problem of market concentration rising out of proprietary technology network, leading to concentration and associated practices. And it is being a challenge not just in India, it's a challenge in US, it's a challenge in Europe, it's a challenge in China. While Europe and US is trying to look at the regulatory approach, and China is looking at the control approach, we are looking at the approach of technology, enabling markets and enabling policy. So the whole idea is something that is built on our progress till now. And what UPI has proven is that in any business, I mean, in any transaction, there are two sides, money and goods and services. UPI took care of the money problem. Such smooth, efficient transaction. But when it comes to the product side or service side, we have a challenge. So we said, can we approach the same thing to unbundle the building blocks and make them interoperable so that it does not become walled gardens. So what we are trying to achieve, as we know, is to break the walled gardens and make any producer or merchant to make their catalogs visible to an open network that can be discovered by any other platform without being bound to each other.
Thank you, Koshy. I think that's a great introduction. It's definitely disruptive because we are not looking at incremental change. There is immense potential to reimagine and democratize e-commerce. Now, one big question which comes is we are moving away from a platform-centric to a network-centric model. And there are large incumbents already in this space. So how do you see it going forward? Would it be a collaborative play or would it be competitive? I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
You know, the way it is looked at, it is really inclusive. We all are familiar with the existing digital commerce. It's been growing exceptionally well in the last few years. But all said and done, what is the extent of penetration? On the buyer side, it's 6 to 7%, and the seller side is less than a percentage. Yeah. So essentially this, I mean, even if I was in that position, I would do the same thing. We tried to look at, give some solutions and for people of certain socioeconomic background. So we gave them the facilities, we gave them the products that they want, and at the conditions and service level expectation that is needed. Like I said, it's a 5-star service. You know, if you go to a 5-star hotel, you'll pay 500 rupees for a coffee. If you don't like it, just raise your eyebrows and somebody will change it. You go to the dabbawala, he'll say, "Aapko acha lagta hai to aap le lijiye." But in the hotel industry, we need everybody. Similarly, in the commerce, we need 5-star, 3-star, 2-star, everybody there, coexisting with equal opportunity for visibility. But getting competitive position based on what they have to offer, not because they have a captive audience there. So, and that is what is going to drive, business going forward. So in that sense, I would expect the existing players would seize an opportunity of growing the market from 7% to 50%. You saw the same thing happened in UPI. Sorry, I'm again taking the example. We just finished from there. Because nobody thought that we could, in 4 or 5 years time, nobody thought we could do 10 times or 15 times as, market expansion, which we manage. And there, everybody will participate, the big and the small. So that way, it's an inclusive agenda, and we are seeing signal from the large and the small that they would like to be a part of it.
So I take it from you that you are seeing that with a lower penetration, this is only going to expand the entire network. So it will become a lot of collaborative play. And as the markets deepen, as more access is provided, the overall pie is big enough for everybody to play in over there. But what we see that while there's a lot of focus on merchants, on consumers, which is what we are talking about over here, it's buy and sell, we also see that ONDC has immense potential to streamline the supply chains, the logistics, because the part which is like in a way embedded is the entire logistics piece. How do you see this model powering the B2B in the country?
So it's a very interesting thing. I would like to two dimensions of it. One is, so look at any normal business. It is each part of building block of the business is handled by the specialized entity. That's how they optimize their investment and everybody take the benefit of it. Let's look at what happens in the mobile phone. Initially, each of them had their own tower network and so on and so forth. Now they realize it's a waste of investment. So if I make a call in Airtel or Vodafone, it may go to the same tower and then get distributed. So what did it mean? Each entity, the tower people said, I am good at it. I'll give you the service. Yeah. Same is applicable in every business. But why do we need in digital commerce, somebody has to set up the whole logistics, somebody has to put up the whole warehousing, somebody has to do everything? There's no need. There can be specialized entities coming. So in that way, and when you have this participation of merchants today, which is less than a percentage, going to at least even 15, 20%, It cannot be built on the top of some large investment of somebody. Because the requirement across a country, across a state, intercity, hyperlocal, rural, village, everything is different. So the idea of open network for digital commerce is that each of them can be present as a provider of a service, which will allow the seller to make his choice. Let me go a little more specific. See, I might be a person who might have a large national market, so I may have a contract with a national logistics provider. Oh, I could be just a cake maker from Bandra, and I find that there are somebody interested in Delhi, some of my special cake for Christmas. I can just look into the network and say, hey, somebody is taking it there. Let's take the argument further. So that might be a little expensive because you're sending 1 kilo of cake from Delhi to Bombay. But everybody may not want, but only the people who are used to the nice cakes of Bandra. Tomorrow, I may say that, I find a warehouse as a service in Delhi. So in Christmas time, every week, I'm going to send probably 50 kilos of cake on a bulk logistics, which is also available on the network. And go there and then make a hyperlocal guy to deliver. So these are the kind of interesting model that can come. That's on one side. Similarly, on the B2B side, it can be even more revolutionary. If you look at Suresh, that let's say wholesaler to retailer, the example that you get. Today, they're actually giving two services. One is they're giving him the product. Second is giving the credit. And that's an area where neither the retailer nor the wholesaler is really good at. So that limits their options, but increases the cost. Look at the retailer today. If I want to add one more product, I have to go and promote. I may have to go to another wholesaler. I'm convinced that I'm worthy enough to be given a credit. Similarly, if I am a wholesaler, I'm not so sure about taking one more person. Now, the whole trail of digital commerce married with the revolution that we see in the financial transaction, again, help you to unbundle products and credit. The credit will be handled through the whole AA, the whole network, and beautifully handled. So it suddenly opens up opportunities for the retailer and the wholesaler. So you're talking, I just took an example to see how the whole fundamental supply chain can undergo change with respect to new service providers and new specialized service providers, changing the opportunity for different growth and enhancing the market access. And that is going to be a humongous revolutionary change. I just want to add one more point. At this point of time, what we are creating is standards for the Lego blocks. So there will be new people coming with new blocks, new people coming with new, building together with this Lego blocks. Either could be a spacecraft or could be a bullet cart. But beauty is left to the imagination, innovation, and specialization.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you over there. And I think one very interesting industry which has picked this up is in the area of finance and banking. So today, as you rightly said, that as more digital data gets created, banks are today looking at it with a lot of interest to see how does this digital trail of commerce help them in their MSME lending. So I think ONDC will play a very strong role over there. And even when we look at these networks which are creating a continuous layer of data about buy and sell, they can be leveraged even at the point of purchase or at the point of sale. So I think that is going to be a huge potential, and we see across industry models coming up over here, which will create different use cases. The other clear area we see that, and again, since we are talking about...
I just wanted to have one dimension to the data that you said. In addition to, there are two dimensions. You highlighted one important point, the availability of digitally verifiable data, which is now can feed into the whole financial sector, transforming the financial sector. That itself is a very powerful motivator, helper. And similarly, on the other side, today, one of the challenge with the proprietary platform approach is that data is concentrated.
Absolutely.
When it is concentrated, it is not available for the endpoints. And the endpoints, they want to make their business decision. They want this market intelligence about at least their business. And tomorrow, with the ONDC coming in, that is what is going to happen. Empowerment of the endpoints. And that humongous amount of data that they can play with and the services that they can get from the people who play with the data will really help them to make smart business decisions, expand their markets, maybe within the country and across the state and across the country too. So that is, again, empowerment of the last mile is a beautiful thing that today is not possible to happen.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And real-time access with the structure of the platform, or rather the network over here. But equally important I see is that today, when we talk about this as the UPI moment for e-commerce, we are alluding to payments, which I would say still is a lesser number of dimensions to it. The moment you talk e-commerce, it is more complex, it is more a layered transaction. There are multiple touch points. There's an experience layer which comes as part of it. Now the question is that a very strong governance and redressal mechanism needs to come into play. And also a seamless experience, which will, one, lead to trust and therefore leading to adoption. So I would like to hear your thoughts that what are we doing in this space in a decentralized framework where we are creating this layer of trust and governance to help adoption happen.
You know, this is one question that I get asked in every session I go, and there's no single simple answer. It is only to put together a picture of how the world is changing and what are the compulsions and nudges and incentives and disincentives to change the way it is running. So even before we go into exception handling, which is like grievance or whatever it is, that's what we are normally used to. Let me take a slightly detached approach first. Whenever there is a business, a transaction, let's say my transaction, let's say I do 100 transactions a month. Service is in that 100 transaction, not just in that probably 2% of rejection that I may have. You know, 2% of rejection, I am equally conscious. It's like the life insurance that we take.
Yeah.
We are reasonably confident we won't pop tomorrow morning. But say, in case it happens, how about my family? So it's very equally important. I'm not questioning. So before touching that, I'll talk to the big picture. Is that I want to know how my experience, how I get a fair experience as a buyer. You know, today one of the challenges that is there is that, you know, whenever you create a proprietary platform which is driven by scale, it is natural that when you are representing both the buyer and the seller, natural that you would like to influence a buyer to sell what you would like to sell, not what you would like to buy. So in that way, for the buyer, is he getting the best service in terms of making the right choices? Because we want to influence him. Like I always say, no, I wear Lacoste t-shirt, I have nothing against it, I love it. But is it compulsory that from people from Jammu to Trivandrum should wear always only the Lacoste shirts? So can't we, when a buyer application comes as a buyer's agent, he will realizing that I'm a Mallu during Christmas, during my Onam time, he will say hey, for the Onam party you have to wear, non-Lacoste t-shirt is not cool. Because he has an incentive to do. So that is a kind of change. So that way, consumer service is also when you're buying, not just when you have an exception. Okay, now let's go into life insurance, exception. Exception also, today if you look at, I mean, I would like to address it from 2 points of view. One, what ONDC would do to prevent exception. One, what ONDC will enable in case of exemption.
Sure.
When it looks at what we are trying to do is prevent exemption is the market structure itself. Look at now as normally how does an exception can handle? You have a problem, you bought something, you normally interact with the buyer application. In an existing system also you have a buyer application and the seller application, except that they're connected internally, tightly held. In the newer world, it's handled by two different entities. But you as a person will go and put your complaint in your buying platform. And in that buying platform will religiously send that to the seller platform, because buying platform has to make his buyer happy. And the seller platform will have to get this information and act upon it. Except that now there are two legal entities. There again, different market models may come. For example, in some buyer applications, say that I am dealing with very elite customers who want exceptionally high 5-star consumer service. No questions asked, I want it to return. He may, when the buyer application broadcasts that question that I want a mobile phone, he will say that, but I will pay the seller only after 30 days if the customer has no complaint. And if the customer just give it back, no questions, I will take it back. The seller who are willing to provide that kind of service level will offer with a premium attached to that service level. There's no compulsion that he should do.
Sure.
So he knows that 2% of the cases may come back, 5% he may come back. And if it doesn't happen, the buyer application will know that he will give the money back. At the end of it, sellers are there to make money. They are not there just to steal people. So this exception handle, this is a 5-star service level. There could be somebody running and saying that I am no return policy, it's a discount store. Like today we have the discount store. So this market will enable both kinds of sellers and buyers come to an agreement for what they are comfortable at. So that is why it became a self-correcting model. Look like a seller application. If he's, and normally it might be a specialized seller application. Let's say there could be somebody selling up a seller application to sell the cakes from Bandra. What can happen if he messes up his name? Nobody will buy from him. He wants to be continuously there. So how do we build a strong incentive? First, whenever any seller or application or buyer application come to the ONDC network, we establish his KYC. Second, he has to sign an agreement that he's adhere to the policies of the network. Third, he has to make sure his application meets the technical requirements, certified for the protocol that is there. With this, he has to also agree to any network policies that will be implemented by the community as a whole and adhere to his discipline as it evolves. And if he doesn't behave well, he can be kicked out or suspended. Plus, we are also going to create a network-wide rating. So now it's not that if, let's say, Koshy.com selling fashion apparel, he cannot suddenly resurface as Thampi.com with everything changed. But my PAN remains same, my GSTN remains same, unless I create a completely new identity. How much can you do? So that's why, because of this, there is a natural self-correction compulsion to the seller and a compulsion to the buyer to encourage this happen. So this is the ways of checks and balances that will build in. And like we said, there will be complete transparency of any complaints. So if, let's say, Koshy.com has 100 grievances, it will be publicly known that there are 100 grievances, 99 got solved, 1 became a dispute. That's why we are looking at the next stage. Even there could be sometimes disputes happening. It has to be evidence-based resolution. That's why we are working together to develop an online dispute resolution framework and so on. So there's a lot of checks and balances that will reduce the probability of challenges. And if there are challenges, to be resolved. If I again, Suresh, the area where we come from, if you remember, capital market 10, 20 years ago used to be like 400 crores transaction a day and 25% settlement related problem.
True.
Today you have 150,000 crores a day and practically nil problem. So that's why the digital trackability help evidence-based, ensuring that this will, there's a disciplined behavior, compliance to the rules and regulations. And that's how we believe the market will mature.
I agree, and I think something what you alluded to in your commentary just now, the fact that we can create social reputation ledgers, and you can then create and certify, or in a way, let the people decide who's doing well and who's not doing well. And there's evidence-based rating which comes into play. I think that will go a long way in ensuring that people start building a trust. They see the transparency of the process. They see the way people are getting rated in a very democratized manner. I think these things are going to play a very, very important role in building the trust around the ecosystem. I think as we talk about public infrastructure, digital public goods, one thing we've clearly seen is they foster innovation. And it leads to multiple players coming in, because by design, an open system, a decentralized framework is all about giving an open, equal opportunity to multiple players to come in and build use cases and business models over there. So we are here in the melting pot of Global FinTech Fest with a lot of fintechs out in the audience and in this place. So what would be your message to them on the role that they can play in building and co-creating new models around ONDC?
Suresh, you asked a very important point, because today's proprietary models, there can only be 2 or 3 players in every domain. It's not that they don't innovate. They've got fantastic funds, they do fantastic innovation, but it's all left to themselves. And most of the time, that innovation only make them stronger, richer, bigger. Which means that, and the whole game is scale, not specialization. And that is a fundamental fallacy which we are trying to break. Now look at, let me just give you an example. It's easy to. Let's look at the buyer side and the seller side. To buyer side, let's take a large company, like something like a bank who has got lots of digital consumers, or a fintech who already has digital consumers for fintech services. Now they are saying that, boss, today I can help you in digital commerce. Today, if they want to give digital commerce, they cannot, because if they want to give products, they need to tie up with the sellers. If they want to give mobility, they want to tie up with the taxi providers. If they want to give travel, they want to provide with, tie up with the travel agents, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's not their business. There's not cup of business. In the ONDC world, you don't have to worry. Every service provider is making himself or herself visible using the ONDC protocol. So now, as a buyer side, I need to only look at how can I make the buying experience more exciting? How can I tell Koshy, please let me use your history, give me some more input on you, I can give you better advice on what is a possible fashion which will meet your taste, your sensibilities. And instead of trying to convince, say, Koshy, you have to only wear Lacoste, that is all cool. That is a big guy. Now imagine like a small startup from Trivandrum. He develops a Mallu product where he can take the Mallu voice and Mallu text, help to ask me the questions that is, because he is from there, he can understand my culture. He can ask me the relevant questions and convert them to a search from the whole universe of sellers available to select the best for me. True. And say that in addition to the special Onam dress, I can buy a Gagra choli for my wife from somewhere in Odisha. How about mixing that? He's letting me, it is tickling my imagination, because he has no agenda. Now on the other side, seller side, imagine one smart startup coming from IIT Madras, originally parents from Tirupur, garment business. He can today also set up a fantastic portal for his friends. But he'll have to go and tell that it's all efficiency. And they say that, I don't know this efficiency business. Okay, could be good. Can you help me sell it? No, that you go and register yourself on biggies. Can you get me the market intelligence? No, that the biggies will charge you and do. But tomorrow he doesn't have to do that. He says, boss, I'll first let your catalog visible to the whole billion plus buyers from the market. I'm coming in from market side. And when your markets get built up, bigger, I will give you efficiency solutions. That's a completely reverse but exciting journey he's offering to his friends. And that comes from innovation. So I just took two examples. So if you let your mind wild and take away from that, this platform model, like you said, and think about the possibilities that just explode for small and big to be equally visible and attractive and sustainable. You're talking about a completely different world. And that is what we need to get used to ourselves. So in fact, when I have in many conferences, I have in private discussion, people in their mental model can think only from the way of platform. True. Just adding one more point, Suresh. When you make today, it's not that we don't know that. When it comes to information dissemination, that's what we do. Supposing you want to create Protean.com and I want to have Koshy.com. Both of us can do, both of us will get equal visibility. I will not worry. I need to only worry whether I can make an HTML page either by themselves or with somebody else's help. I don't worry, hey, I have to make it register in Chrome, register in Edge. No. Everywhere I'm visible. So similarly, my vision in future, Suresh, is that e-commerce is not a sector in itself. Digital commerce is just one more channel for every business entity by making their products or services visible in an open network. So e-commerce, as we see today, will become irrelevant. It's not that e-commerce will become irrelevant, as we see today, and it will become just an extension of commerce. In fact, I was just last day talking to a professor from Stanford. He said, Koshy, I used to run a course called digital marketing. I am sunsetting it today because it is not just Marketing is just one topic. There's nothing specialized there. And mostly it's digital. So when I told him about it, he says, let's go. It's going to be in tomorrow. It's not going to be e-commerce, something separate, where that part of it is handled by somebody else's rule. Rest of it's by your rule. Tomorrow, everything is as per the brand's rule. Those are the kind of excitement that is turning up.
So surely we look forward to ONDC becoming a case study at Harvard or Stanford. But I think our time is up, but thanks for a lot of information, a lot of touch points you called upon. And I think for the industry as a whole, it clearly becomes an amazing ecosystem of framework, because the more multi-layered, the more complex it is. Okay, drop the mic. The more opportunities are there to actually look at markets as a service. So on that, we will close. If there are any questions from the audience, I don't know if the organizers, we have more time, but if there's a question, we can take some questions, and then we can call it a closer to this session. Thank you very much.
Hello. Yeah, hi, my name is Mitesh, and I have been following ONDC for last 3-4 months, and really revolutionary. I see that US, China, all are trying to tackle this problem, but the initiative which India has taken is really incredible. What I want to know is that what are the barriers or challenges do you foresee in adoption of ONDC? That is one, this is the question which I had for you.
While the ONDC concept and protocol will give equal opportunity to everybody, big and small, and we expect equal participation, the challenge that we will have to face is that the many small and micro enterprises and so on and so forth may not have the advantage of taking, exploiting the solution so fast. So while to make sure this theoretical opportunity is practically there at the whole level to reach that ultimate vision, there has to be a lot of digital education, digital literacy to be built up, a lot of solutions to be made available to handhold small and medium enterprises and so on and so forth. Only then they can actually make use of it. That's why we need to have friends and relatives and who will work in that. In that case, I am extremely thankful for Suresh and Protean, because he understands this complementary role that has to be there for ONDC, and he is one of the many leading institutions which has taken this view of providing these kind of SDK solutions, ready-made solutions, handholding, training, and the variety of things to essentially empower larger cross-section of sellers, merchants, and buyers to participate. And that is going to be a journey. So while the first part of creating protocol is the relatively easier one, this journey is going to be the most arduous, and it can only happen only with very active participation for a broad cross-section of people.
Koshy, I'll just add to what you were saying. I think two parts to it to add to what we just heard. I think one is going to be the entire journey of adoption. So naturally, the consumers getting comfortable, they building the trust in the ecosystem. That is going to be one part of the challenge. But I see a huge opportunity for all of us here, because each part of the journey today needs some level of assistance. And as you are looking at democratizing and looking at the last mile guy becoming included into this ecosystem, technology and digital can play a huge role in enabling them. And as Koshy called out in the last answer, I think our ability to give simple, small solutions to them to enable parts of their journey of adoption and integration into ONDC is going to be very critical. So I think as a fintech industry, we all have a role to play in enabling this.
Hi, Koshy, Rohit here. Rohit Krishna. I wanted to know, let's say we get of the 60 million MSMEs, let's say we get about 20% on the platform. Still, as a consumer, when I am searching for something, there has to be a visualization layer of how will ONDC visualize the 300 possible merchants who can supply that particular good that I want or service that I want. How are you solving for this? Because this is where the core of democratization and fairness quotient lies. How does one merchant get prioritized over the other?
Okay, first and foremost, ONDC doesn't do anything. It's a buyer platform, diverse buyer platform that will do. Let's go a little deeper. There are 1 billion consumers in the country, different hues and cries, different taste, different specialization, different priorities. So, as I told you earlier, the buying platforms that may come up will be trying to help the buyer to make the ideal choice. So you would see specialization happening here too. There could be some buying platform who might be catering to some particular segment with some particular taste and SLAs and qualities and preference and so on and so forth. It will help the buyer to sort, filter, use AI, use ML to focus on what he needs. Today, one of the biggest challenges that you are alluding to was that very often many of the platform has an incentive because of the association that he have with the sellers to prioritize something, not what ideally that is fair to the consumer. In tomorrow's world, when the buyer application is only loyal to the buyers, and he doesn't even know where the seller is coming from, he will have to take an extra effort to help the buyer to make the right choice. Based on price, it could be based on location, it could be based on rating, it could be based on specifications and so on and so forth. So it is theoretically possible that there could be very many options for the same product, but when you try to filter it this way, it really comes down. And the priority of the buyer application is to help the buyers to do this, not to push anything. I mean, that's what we today do too. Let's say, for example, sometimes based on what type of buyer I am, I may be going to Big Bazaar or I may be going to the street shop. Doesn't matter. But each place, there will be certain... And the person, I mean, if you are a friend with you to help you buy the thing, will help you to buy the most appropriate thing. And that's the kind of specialization and innovation the buyer application would come. It is not just a blind listing of some 300,000 products, because it's of no use to the buyer. Today, one challenge that is there, while some of them will help you to filter, but that filter is a biased filter. So what we are saying is same or better filters and algorithm would come with no bias to the seller, but to the bias to the buyer.
Understood. Thank you.
I think it's time up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'm going to request both of you to please come together for a quick photograph as well.